Get started and tell you a little bit about AABH. It is our mission to educate, motivate, and support those who want to learn about alternative, more natural methods of addressing many of the common or uncommon diseases, illnesses that plague our community today. We fully believe in taking a holistic approach by hosting monthly seminars, health conferences, and field trips, which support the mission of AABH. So, introduce a person who's going to be introducing the speaker. And this person is my partner, an AABH partner. He's the co-chairperson of Speakers Bureau also. So we find different speakers to come in to talk. So please help me welcome this incredible guy, Howard Redmond.
Hello, well, I'm Howard L. Bay.
Oh.
Actually, I changed it to when you guys are one of the first to hear it. I'm a King L. Bay.
King L. Bay.
Yeah.
All right. You like it already.
Yes.
So
So I want
Can you spell that?
H-A-K-E-I-M.
H-A-K-E-I. Hakeem. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Hakeem.
Well, I want to introduce our speaker for today. He's fantastic. He's I knew on this subject that's happened today that he'd be the best one to bring it to people. Minister Imhotep. I'll just stop right there. Minister Imhotep has been an ordained minister of Wolsey Church since 1987. He is currently the senior minister of Wolsey, Sacramento. He's a founding member of Wolsey Community Church of Oakland and has played a key role in the church early development both in Oakland and Sacramento. For the past 2 decades, he has conducted seminars, workshops, and in-service classes for teachers and has lectured at the universal level down to grade level on African history and culture. He's been a contributor to the African Americans Balanced Health seminars through the years with presentations spoken on the importance of water, the sun and vitamin D as relate to the human body, and most recently, a review of the Affordable Care Act as it relates to African Americans. Included among his many accolades that he has received over the years are NIOP for the community service. The Sacramento Observer has included his name among the 100 influential African Americans listed in Sacramento. He's a recipient of the NINA Award presented by the Sacramento Black Unified Fund, Glory Award recipient presented by the Sacramento Reserve. He's an employee of Sacramento County for 24 and a half years. He currently works in the Department of Technology as a senior IT analyst. His interest includes research on cultural, history, and spiritual phenomenon, practicing Tai Chi. He is currently a red fringe in the Plum Blossom Federation system for the Tai Chi Chuan. He's a family member, husband of Doris Alkebulan. Alkebulan. For 26 years, and father of 2 young men. What's that? Ramatek?
Rowan.
Abba and Aram, age 22, and Kaba, age 17. His name means he who comes in peace. So, well, let's give us a hand for Minister Imhotep.
Thank you. I'm Doris's old man. I want to express my appreciation to African Americans for Balanced Health, for this invitation. I think they came to me maybe about 6 months ago to talk about this topic, which is kind of similar to one of the topics that I presented earlier, which is related to the cell phone. And what we're going to talk about today are frequencies. You know, there's a frequency for everything. Actually, everything is sound. Mm-hmm. You know, and they've proven, you know, like, okay, in nature, you first the lightning and then the thunder, but really the sound comes first. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. He was with God in the beginning. In our tradition here, it will say, in the Hosea, it says, Ptah conceived everything in his heart and mind, and through the power of his spoken word, brought everything into being. And so we all have a frequency. Mm-hmm. We all relate to frequencies, and sometimes frequencies are used against us. Mm-hmm. There was a man that came to our church in Oakland quite a while ago, and he had been in all our locations. We'll say began in Oakland in 1980, and we began in a Masonic lodge on Galindo Street, if you're familiar with the area, in the I almost said Fruit Vale district. And then we moved to a place on Madison Avenue. It was an old Scottish Rite Temple there. And then we moved to a place on Holly Street, which is where we're currently there. And there was this gentleman, and he would carry a big sign, kind of like that display in the back, and he would say, "Tell the U.S. government to stop sending, invisible beams to black people." And that sounds really crazy. You know, he had flyers out, and he would. Do you remember him? Do you remember seeing? But he would have flyers out, and every week it was that. You know, and I would talk to him, but when you think about cell towers, when you think about cell phones, when you think about the radio waves for Wi-Fi, you know who's crazy now? So something to think about. And I'm violating some of the things. You know, I have one of these things, but you don't know what the frequency is, how that is affecting your electromagnetic frequency, why you are coming up with so many diseases that are never, So it's something to think about. Everybody has a frequency. So when I started researching this, it's such a vast topic, frequencies. And the way I came about it, I was doing something for something else. This always happens. I was looking for something else, and then I found this. So I found it was like Bob Marley in the frequency of 4432. And so I put it on as I was researching the other thing, and they said this is the frequency that is most soothing to you. And then as I began to research, I found out that all recordings, tape, vinyl, do they still use vinyl?
Coming back.
See, it's coming back.
Yeah.
Good, because I have a whole milk carton of stuff. Just as an aside, some of the songs that I like, you can't get on iTunes. For instance, Leroy Hudson. Remember him? Leroy Hudson. There's one of his songs that I've been trying, but it's not. You can get YouTube, but You can't get it on iTunes. Remember that group Side Effect? Remember the I was trying to get Always There, but by Side Effect. But that's so they don't put all the songs. So I'm glad that vinyl is coming. CDs, all recorded music are in the frequency of 440. Now, 440 is the frequency that was discovered by the Europeans, and they do not always have the best interest of mankind.
Right.
You know, even with when it's a mistake, it doesn't come up as the right interest. So, and the further that you read, you find out that Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, wanted everything to be heard in 440, and but the frequency that's more attuned to us, more attuned to right brain, is the frequency 432. Now, if you play guitar, I don't, but I have a kalimba, and when I was playing with that kalimba, I could never get mine to sound like Maurice White's. No matter what I did, I couldn't. Right. And then I found this website. It's called Kalimba Magic, and he had what Maurice White had done is that he had taken the kalimba that this guy, his name is I can't think of the guy's name now. That Hugh Tracy. Hugh Tracy was a guy that went to South Africa to, save the savages. And he got turned out on the music. And so the kalimba actually is a variation of an instrument that's called the mbira, which is the national instrument of Zimbabwe. And areas in that region, Zambia, Malawi. And so what he did was from the G scale and took it to a pentatonic scale, which is the African scale. There is a wonderful video, and I can't think of the brother's name, but he's explaining the origin of Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace was written by a slave ship captain. And when he's explaining it, he's saying that all the spirituals, that are called Negro spirituals, they are all played on the black keys. Wow. Because that's our scale, it's in fifths. The original African scale is in fifths. So he started playing Every Time I Feel It, just all on the black keys. And then he started playing Swing Low, all on the black keys. And then he talked about something that's called white spirituals. And what happened was, I'm trying to think of the guy's name that was the slave ship captain. But so the slave ship captain, hearing people dying underneath them, all the horrors that go along with the Middle Passage. There was a storm one time, and they didn't get killed, so he wrote these words, Amazing Grace. But the tune is to an African, like a morn chant, So, sound is just so much to it, the proprietor, the owner of Marcus Bookstore, his name was Julian Richardson, and Rich was this great person. He had this wild Frederick Douglass hair, and when you looked at him, it looked like he was looking through you. And he said this thing to me one time. It was at African Liberation Day, and there was a big controversy because the group that usually gives African Liberation Day, they split with this other group, And Rich, we were standing in front of the Oakland Auditorium, and it was, he was just amused by it all because he had seen it all, And he says, black people are not going to accept socialism because you can't dance to it. We're very rhythmic people. Some of you may attend the Church of God in Christ. They have the best music. They really, that music moves you. And that's how we learn things. The Quran is a songbook. They sing it. So we have different frequencies. So someone discovered, I think it was another German person, they discovered that the Earth's frequency is 7.83 hertz. The Earth's frequency is 7.83 hertz. And that frequency attunes to your brain. Sometimes, like when you go outside and you feel good, you're getting that frequency. You're in tune to the earth, yes.
I'm sorry, you said 7.83
hertz.
hertz.
HZ.
Just HZ.
7.83 hertz. I did this thing once. I was surfing, and I came across this NASA site, and it said the singing sun. And it says, click here if you want to hear have you ever been there? How the sun sounds. And so they put all this acoustic instrumentation aimed at the sun. And what they discovered was that the sun is up there going, oh.
Meditating.
And I came back home. I was excited. No, we are tuning in to the sun's frequency. We are tuning into the sun's frequency. AUM, of which the Om sound is composed of. A reverberates here at what's called the Dan Tian. And then U is here at your heart, where you really feel it. And then it's in your throat. These are the sounds without your tongue that you can make. These are the basic sounds. So what we're doing when people are Om chanting, they're actually synchronizing their frequency to the sun. So I came back home. I was excited because I had just discovered this information, and so I told my wife. I said, "Guess what?" And I began to explain it to her. And you know what she said? What did you think it was going to say? Like duh. Like of course it's and that's the difference in men and women. Men, think and like we're more left brain, think and like, but women, they just have some type of innateness, the feeling. And I'm not trying to get on your good side, sisters, but this is true. This is true. So we all have a frequency. Ever went someplace and said, "Oh, the vibes ain't right," or we say things like, "I want to get in tune with that person," or "I want to," and that's what you're doing, and you can actually feel. You give off. You're electromagnetic. So you give off a frequency. And that's what we're going to talk about. So Wayne Chandler wrote this book, Ancient Future, and he starts out using what's called the Kabbalion. And it's a discourse between what the Greeks call Hermes and Aesculapius, but the African names are Tahuti and Imhotep. So Tahuti is giving this discourse to him, and so I just want to read a few things. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows this understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. This is called the Kabbalion. So now there's 7 things associated with this, and Wayne runs down a lot of things. There's 7 days in the week, 52 weeks in a year. 5 plus 2 equals 7. In the Christian Bible, the earth was created in 6 days, and on the 7th day, God rests. Some psychologists have stated that the age 7 is the age of reason, twice that. 14 is puberty, thrice that. 21 is maturation. There are 7 cardinal colors, and then they list them. There are 7 notes in the musical scale, 7 continents, 7 seas, 7 planets, which are called the 7 governors. Those are the 7 planets that you can actually see with the naked eye. 7 holes that are in the body. 7 virtues, faith, hope, charity, strength, prudence, temperance, and justice. 7 deadly sins, pride, avarice, luxury, wrath, idleness, gluttony, envy. And so there's these 7 principles that are axioms, and they deal with the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, principle of gender, principle of rhythm, principle of cause and effect, and we're going to deal with the principle of vibration. And it says this: nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in constant motion. Whether this motion is perceivable is irrelevant, for this law affirms that everything vibrates and nothing is ever at rest. Modern science now attests to this fact, but it should be kept in mind that this fact was known thousands of years ago in ancient Kemet and in India. The higher vibrations, the higher form or entity that exists within particular frequency. Therefore, the vibrational connection between some of the grosser forms of matter, such as rock, and a human being is very great. Spirit has the highest vibrational frequency, vibrating at such a phenomenal speed that it seems to be at rest. Just as rapidly moving wheels seem to be motionless, it is said that those practitioners of the Hermetic teachings who are able to grasp this principle will be able to, with appropriate formulas, control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. Or, stated by one of the old masters, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. So this is what they thought of vibration. Now, the ancient Kemites had this saying in, in my development, just dealing with the Rastas. I just hang out with the Rastas. Yeah. And it's all right. Hi, I'm Imhotep, and I used to hang out with the Rastas.
Come on.
They had, I tell you, all right. They have this saying, it's called word sound have power. Word sound have power. And so that's why they use words. They already have that patois, but they use different words. So instead of saying understand, they say overstand. Because I don't want to be under this thing.
Right.
Overstand. Instead of saying vital, they say itals. And this food that Sister Bianca prepared, it would be considered ital vitals. So it's because they identify with Haile Selassie, his title is King of Kings, Lords of Lords, Conqueror. They just use that I. So they put I on a lot of words, and so instead of saying give Jah the praises, they say give Jah the Isis. Going back to that ancient form of worship, they don't even know that they're doing it. I mean, people are in church or stuff, and they put up this sign. This is the sign that our ancestors wrote, how you wrote the soul. This is how the Ka. And the words sound have power. Words of power among the ancient Kemites was Heka. You know, I mentioned that this morning. Mariana, she was sitting here. She says, "I say Heka all the time."
Right.
You know, we say these words and we don't know. So I want to get to the slides. There was a couple other things. Wayne has a chapter 3. So see these things here? These are things that are formed by vibration. It's called cymatics. C-Y-M-A-T-I-C-S, cymatics. You can look that up. And we're actually going to show a YouTube video. Also, if you get Gaia, you know, now there's so many stations. There's a Gaia station, and you go in there, and it's just so many things. But the one that I would like for you to focus on is Michael Tellinger's. And he has a lot of information relating to sound, relating to South Africa, being a very ancient place. There are monuments there that date back 200,000 years old. Michael Tellinger, he's a white South African. It's on that show Gaia. It's on it, huh? It's on Coast to Coast. Yeah, it's in a lot of places. A lot of people are dealing with frequencies. So I want to read a couple of things that Wayne has about here. He says, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything." Yep. Oh, I thought you were here. Everything moves, everything vibrates. That's the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the fact that motion is manifest in everything in the universe. So just because you think, like this table, you think it's standing still, but it's not. It's vibrating. We're just not able to perceive it. You know, when you're feeling the vibrations of my voice going to your ear. Otherwise, it would be like you could. So you know, dolphins. When they are, one of the reasons why they get caught in nets is because they're able to turn off part of their brain. So when they're sleeping or they're not really focused, they turn off one part of their brain, and so it's not hitting. Because really, when they're fully alert, their radar can hit the net because they're always sending out things. Have you ever been in a place where bats are, and you think the bats are going to run into you? They know the bats are actually pretty blind, but it's because of their radar. They're always sending out information. They're always an echo to try to get, and if nothing bounces off, they know they can keep going. Let's see. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is that why the animals can feel the frequencies before us when it comes to like the earthquakes and things like that?
I'm glad you brought that up, Angela. You know, this is part of the tragedy that is happening. People are wondering where the bees are.
Really?
You know, the bees are disappearing. See, we got all these frequencies out there that's messing with their orientation. This is why, you know, whales and wash up on the beach. Their frequency is being thrown off. So yes, the answer to your question, yes. That's one of the tragedies. So the bees have a thing. They did this experiment where children, you know, around 7 years old, they blindfolded them and they put them in like a spinning chair and they spun them around. They saw the way the room was before they were blindfolded, and they spun them around. And when they stopped, they wanted to see if it would disorient them. Would they be able to pick? And there's something in your brain, I forget the name of the substance, that causes you to get on a right orientation. And that substance is a lot of it behind the eye of a bee. And so even now, you don't see butterflies like you used to. You know, and so by having all of these different radio waves going on, it's convenient. I can look up something on the internet. I can Google. If I wanted to send you a song, I could do it right now from my phone, but at what cost?
Yeah.
What is it doing to people? What is it doing to our society? Is it making us sicker? And I'm going to tell you, if the bees go,
Hey.
We in trouble.
yeah, yeah. They can't make bees.
Exactly.
You know, and so bees are growing up to a certain point, and then just before they get to adulthood, then they die. You know, so so I noticed that I haven't seen any butterflies.
Right.
I like butterflies.
Yeah, that's what you want.
You know, but you don't see them out because we're sending. We don't even know where the radio. There's radio waves here in this room right now. We don't know. And most people don't deal with it because it's not measurable, or so they think. It's not measurable. We're not able to, unless you can feel it. You know, they usually measure things by heat. You know, but there's other things that's involved. So let me continue. I don't know how much time I have. Even colors are vibrations that resonate at specific frequencies. Sodium lights are yellow because sodium atoms vibrate with those frequencies that your brain perceives as yellow. Mercury atoms vibrate with a bluish light, and neon atoms send out vibrations that your brain that reach the brain as red. So there's the even colors. Let's see. What else did Wayne put here for us? There are different rates or frequencies of vibration. The higher the vibration, the more advanced the life form. The ancient Hermeticists maintain that all retains a constant vibration of such infinite degree of intensity and rapidity that it may be considered at rest. The teachings of Tahuti describe the scope of vibration as having spirit at one pole, gross matter at another pole. So there's a lot to it, and I don't want to bore you. You can get Wayne's book, Ancient Future, very, very good read. So now I'm going to try to make the projector work. Usually, Bill Johnson is here to help me out, and but I think maybe I can get it to work.
You can
myself.
right.
I can do it.
You can do it.
Put out the right vibe.
I got 20. Okay. All right. So, like I said, there's a lot to this.
Maybe cut right off.
Please. No snoring now. I'm not going to have it. Okay. That is, snoring is a frequency. It's a very annoying.
That's good. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this iPad that I have, I'm just full of pictures in here. So, this iPad that I have has so many pictures, and so it's kind of slow now. I've caused it to be slow. So, now in these slides, so here is one of the things I'm talking about. Now, you see the difference? 432 hertz is, now these are done on water. So if you look at 432 on the left, this is the way it's supposed to look. But this is what we generally listen to in 440. See? It's different. It's chaos. So that's an important thing to remember. Also, I was talking about the Heka. That's how our ancestors wrote words of power. That's how they wrote that. And actually, there is a second part to that. This is how you would say, I am, Nuke. Heka. Now that might not mean anything right now. but hopefully I can make it have some meaning. Everybody okay?
Yes.
So here's an image of that Heka. I found this on the net. But here at the bottom, there's a meditation. Nuk Heka says, I am the divinity of the word. So here's a little meditation that they give. And so cleansing for 3 days, posture and focus of attention, make your body still, concentrate on yourself. Words of power to chant, Nuk Haka, I am the word itself that purifies. Nuk Ra Haku, I am Ra's glorious shining spirit, divine light. Nuk Heka, I am God who created through sound. And then it asks you to visualize yourself in the center of a sun disk, the circle of Ra, and see yourself as Ra. So that's what that meditation. So this part here, Nuk Haka, is what we were looking at when we were looking at those photographs. Okay, now if I can move on. Hey, Sarah, come in. Don't trip on anything. That would be bad in the African Americans for bouncing. We had to go to Kaiser, the African American. That would be bad. Okay. So I found this. You might want to write this article down. It's like A equals 432 hertz frequency, DNA tuning, and the bastardization of music. DNA tuning and the bastardization of music. And here's that example again.
What's bastardization?
Well, it actually co-opts the frequency that is most normal for you to attune to and heal to and have your being, and it inserted itself. It's just kind of like, cancer. It gets in there and it acts like the other cells, and that's what this music has done. Now, one of the main proponents about this is this guy, Leonard Horowitz. Some of you may have heard him. You can go on YouTube and find his lectures. He wrote an 800-page book just on AIDS and Ebola. Yeah, and he gave this book to the African leaders and told them not to get AZT. He went to South Africa and Kenya in particular. He told them not to get AZT, and so I forget the president after Mandela. I think Mbeki's. He didn't do it because of Leonard Horowitz's recommendation. But let's see what he says here. He says, in modern history, I'm just going to read these first couple of paragraphs. Humankind is the largely unwitting victim of a frequency war on our consciousness. Wow. This has been waged for decades, if not millennia. The goal has clearly been to keep us gullible and subservient as possible through multifarious means. In modern history in particular, there has been what Dr. Horowitz has referred to as the strategic militarization of music. This happened in 1939 when the tuning of the note A above middle C to 440 hertz was adopted in the world of music. In 1910, an earlier push to the effect of the same change was met with limited success. 3 decades later, the British Standard Institute adopted 440 standard, following staunch promotion by rock
by the Rockefeller Nazi Consortium. At the precise time World War II preparations were being finalized by the petrochemical pharmaceutical war financiers, this was the year that 440 became the international standard. Okay, and then there's a lot to it, so I want you to get the article. And so again, the document, you can see it is still up there. A equals 432 frequency DNA tuning.
By who?
Just look, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
that's not the name.
Yeah, no, let's see.
That's okay.
Maybe it has it
I got
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe it has it at the bottom. Hold on. Brendan Murray was the Murphy, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it looks like there's a brendanmurphy.net website. It says here, book 1 is out now. Come get your mind blown at yeah. Okay. All right. So moving back to this. So this is how it came about. This A. Those of you that play piano or had taken piano lessons at one time, in order to orientate yourself on the piano, there's a thing called middle C. And so if you go left, there's B, and then there's A. And so that's the A that they're talking about. This A equals 432 hertz tuning was unanimously approved by the Congress of Italian Musicians in 1881 and recommended by the physicists Joseph Savory and Felix Savart. I don't know how to say these names. Anyway, so they go on into the sound of vibration. This is how it goes into your ear. For maximum suppression of the human consciousness, the frequencies we naturally resonate with, and which are the most biological and psycho-spiritually enhancing, must maximally be suppressed. Ancient Egyptian and Greek instruments have reportedly been found to be tuned at 432 hertz. As far as many guitars are concerned, A equals 432 hertz seems to be the most practical, optimal, most bio-friendly resonant tuning we have, although many musicians have also favored 444, belongs to a different scale, and, so each one has a different tuning. So in this thing here, it explains how it gets into your ear, how you resonate with it. Now, many people nowadays are looking at different things to tune. Like I brought a Tibetan bowl here. I think it's still here. And some people are able to heal folks with tuning forks. There's a gentleman, not an African, but a good guy. He's on 13th and S. The name of his company is called Connections with a K. And the gentleman, his name is Lino Cedros. And what he does is like a combination of acupressure and chiropractic. And people go into them, my son, my wife, different people I've recognized, I've recommended him to. And Lino is able to adjust you in a certain way that you're walking out of there differently. So he can look at you when you come in and almost tell what's wrong with you even before you say, just by the way you're walking. But if you come in with a broken bone, this is how he tells if the bone is broken. And if it's broken, he can't do anything, so he sends you to a regular physician. But tuning forks are very good for healing. 432 is bio-neutral at worst and is widely considered energetically enhancing or healing if employed intentionally. And then there's a whole spectrum here. And now, check this out. The curious case of 432. 32 times 5, and you get that answer. And you go on the precession of the equinox. You know, that 432 is in there a lot. So the purpose of this, and okay, these different enzymes are tuned to various frequencies. What else? So, and then it gives the references. So, I'm going to leave this here, and then I'm going to try to show this video that I hope will work. Because Guy is a long one, and Michael Trillinger is talking and stuff, but it had to do with sand on a metal plate and the vibrations that are done with the sand.
Just go to G-A-Y-A.
G-A-I-N, yes. So let's check this. The sound is not turned up. He's about to. Actually, I like his hair better. So these different frequencies are causing these patterns. And this is what I was talking about when I said cymatics. This is cymatics.
That's a brain, human brain right there.
This is just sand on a metal plate. And they turn up the frequencies, and these are the shapes that appear.
Wow.
So the vibrations are making it.
The vibrations. And this is actually showing you how creation was brought in. It doesn't, it's not important. Thank you.
So, quick question.
Yes.
Is the sound being directed, like is it attached to the plate, or is it just being, do you know if it's being directed at the plate?
It's attached to the plate.
Okay.
It's attached to the plate. Good question.
Oh wow.
Now, where have you seen shapes like this? Anyone?
Mudcloth.
Mudcloth.
Oh.
You know, we just think those are just nice, pretty symbols, but the people knew. See, that's mudcloth.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few more minutes of this, sisters and brothers. Kind of looks like a little universe in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you get the idea. So this is Cymatics, the full movie, bringing matter to life with sound. Ancient knowledge. And you can find this on YouTube. Oh, you can see it. All right. You can find it on YouTube. This also refers to what people call sacred geometry.
Mm-hmm.
That's the importance of frequencies. Now, that's essentially what I have to present, and I'll take questions now if you have any questions.
Yes.
Yes, Sabrina.
In your research, did you come across any information about microwave ovens and that?
Yeah. See, that's part of the problem I was talking about with the bees. So yeah, microwave. So a couple of years ago, I did a seminar for this group, and it was on cell phones. Just give you an idea. So we're holding this microwave thing, and it's bigger now because the one that I started out with, it was flipped. You know, now it's like a mural. You know, this big thing you put up to your ear. You're microwaving your ear. It doesn't affect you. Use a microwave and one of my favorite things, Sobeys and Snapples. So from November of 2013, I haven't taken any poultry. I haven't taken any microwave. I warm my food up in the oven or in a pot. And I feel like I'm cheating. I mean, we are here for a true confession, aren't we? I feel like I'm cheating every time I have salmon. You feel that way, Jim?
I think so.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I never was really heavy, but I lost 40 pounds. I went from 225 to 185. Wow. In like a couple of months. Then my wife said, you need to eat more. So I think I'm still like 185, 190. And I've just always been skinny. It was nothing I was really doing. It's just the way I was. So yes, the microwaves are important, and those are some of the waves that are affecting us. And you know what? We don't know what they're doing. We know that they're killing the food. Mm-hmm. Yes, brother.
In Russia, they outlawed microwaves. You can have when you go to prison.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's how.
That's
it's because it was causing sperm count to drop so low. They were taking tests on because right now people in senates in Russia to actually have babies because the birth rate is falling so low. It's like dangerously low right now. They're even inviting Africans to come to Russia. That's how low it is.
No.
I mean, that's
Black Russians?
So, he's Russian now. So,
wow.
So he got citizenship there now after his last fight. But what ended up happening was they started giving away appliances to women to encourage them to have babies. But when they did the test on the sperm count of the men, I don't know how many people understand about sperm count. A lot of the men's sperm count had dropped all the way to about 15,000. Which is like
which is nothing.
They're shooting dogs.
Yeah.
And so basically, I was talking to somebody. I was like, you're gonna see them vying for brothers from Africa to go to Russia, and they've done a lot of things in order to get rid of anything that causes any unnecessary radiation. They've outlawed, homosexuality. They did a whole lot of things because, you got to understand about birth rate. If you can't maintain your birth rate,
sure.
You can't maintain a nation.
Sure.
So it's like they're making all these adjustments to try to actually keep their numbers up right now. We're not paying attention to it, but people are still using the microwave over here. Like it's
sure. If you buy a house, you guys watch the home channel, you know, where you know, my wife loves that, you know, and you know, you go to this really nice house and the people don't like it, you know, because it doesn't have the latest thing and they have to remodel the thing, but it's always a microwave there. And you know, like, okay, where I work, you know, in the break room, this microwave is everywhere you go. And I think we were kind of shaped by that. We watched Star Trek and we saw the food replicator and the microwave is like that, you know, for us. We want it fast, but we don't realize that it's killing us. Yes, Sabrina.
Yeah, I just want to share. One of my clients, when I had the Natural Living Center for Wellness, a client out of DC, she sent me an experiment that was done, and it was 2 plants, the same plant, same size, that was watered for 10 days, one with regular water and one with microwave water. And in 10 days, the other plant was dead.
Sure.
Yeah, and the other one was thriving.
And that's what you use to warm up your water.
Right.
You know, instead of putting it in a kettle, I mean, it won't be that long. You know, it'll boil.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Children do not know any better. So they do what you've shown them to do. And so they're coming up in a world where that's the norm.
It is.
You know, that's what I want to do. I want to get. Thank you, brother, for sharing that, and thank you, Sister Sabrina, for saying yes, brother.
Yeah, as far as Russia's concerned, too, they had that nuclear reactor.
Right, Chernobyl, right.
They're much more sensitive to that.
They knew that's going to have lasting effect on for a long time.
Oh yeah. They do.
Now, as far as sounds,
yes,
it seemed like, you know, black race throughout the world that's generated a lot of different musical sounds that we're all listening to.
Yes.
And certainly jazz is one of them. Now, it seems to have a real positive, relaxing effect on most people.
Yes.
So now, is there, I don't know if you brought any kind of sounds with you, or you can share with us?
Sure. I have this, like I started out, this Bob Marley. Bob Marley in 432. It sounds different, and I can put it on the speaker in a few minutes. I'm going to take a few more questions, if there are any. I see Sister Bertha and then Sister Annie. Yes.
Is there a way that we can tune our music to 432, like we could tune our stereo system, or?
Well, now they have a lot of different frequencies on YouTube. Okay, you can, if you're so inclined, like really, since I've been doing this, I've been thinking, okay, we need this piano in here retuned. You can, you know, there are tuners. I had to get a guitar tuner for my kalimba, and there's 2 settings. One is for 440, and one is for 432. So you can get that just on your tuner. Sister Angela.
We're talking back to frequencies again, talking about what about those, and I've always been curious, those bug things you plant, do you plug into the wall to keep the bugs away? Now, if you're killing a frequency there, what is it doing to us?
See, and they have it for rodents too. Yeah. You know, we got one of those. My sister-in-law got us one of those, and it never did kill the ants. The ants just kept on coming. You know what works on ants is that chalk. If you just put regular chalk, I found if you just put regular chalk, they won't cross that line. I saw that. Was that you?
Oh yes, I can't find it now, but there is a film that I watched, or part of, and it talked about frequency and radiation, and it talked about what the scientific community says are safe levels versus what each government says is a safe level. And how every country is pretty much well above the line for what the scientific community says is safe for human or animal exposure. And they even talked about not just cell phones, but all of our electronic devices, including your light bulbs and your water meters, all of those different things, and how they affected the natural world. How the second you turn on one thing, the bugs in the garden like freaked out.
Sure.
You know, all of these different things and how it was causing illness and sickness and people who tended to be more sensitive, but over time to just about everyone who had it. So things from anxiety, behavioral problems in children, to migraines, headaches, tumors. It was just a lot of different things that they had compounded the information from. And for the life of me, I can't remember what the name of the movie was. But
well,
it was a documentary.
There's a movie, it's called What the Bleep, we know, that deals with the water aspect of it.
Right.
If you think, just think now, okay, those cytomatic pictures, see, your body is 72% water. So theoretically, sending a signal just messes up the chemistry in your body. Think about that. Well, yeah, that's why people are having a hard time settling down. You know, you know, just if you have your TV on constantly, even if you don't have it on. We got one of those. We got the new boxes, and every now and then it has to reboot. Have you ever seen that? And who knows what that is? I saw that. Yes.
Are binomial beats actually beneficial in terms of like, because I've been watching this video series called Spirit Science, and they recommended binomial beats for meditation, and they also showed that it can help you with like astral projection, and they also have scientists who have constructed the beats to be able to give like psychedelic trips to the mind. Like you listen to the music and it gives you like the effect of like a psychedelic trip. Is that beneficial, or am I putting myself in harm by experimenting with that?
The Temptations had a song that was called Psychedelic Trip. No, just kidding. Way before his time. You know, I have a very good friend. Should I call his name? No. I have a very good friend. He's a well-educated person, has a PhD, and he's really into those tapes. And he actually sent me some, and I listen to them occasionally. And they're supposed to be good. They're supposed to put you in a meditative state. So again, we didn't cover this, but there's 4 like brain waves. There's the alpha. There's theta. There's delta. And then there's one more. Beta. Beta. So you want to get into theta and delta to, you know, so that your mind really relaxes. And it puts you in the same type of mind state as, say, a person who's advanced meditator, like a yogi, or somebody like a Tibetan master, or things like that. So I would say the information I know now, that those are beneficial.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I've heard about the 432 hertz being able to repair DNA as well as structure water so that you can kind of heal your own body from various toxins or anything like that?
You know what, I have, but I can't recommend it. I don't want you to leave out of here and say, you know, I went there and this man was saying if I just did this, I will get healed. But I know that those things are beneficial, and more information is coming out relating to how beneficial those are. So again, I would suggest you to get that. Do some of your own research. It's really easy to do research now. So we can do research and get killed at the same time. I mean, we're killing ourselves slowly. We should just do it expeditiously. Yeah, like Morgan Freeman. Well, you know, when he takes that kid up on the roof, and he says, "You smoke crack, don't you? You know, well, don't F around. Just jump off." You know?
Expeditious.
I love that movie. You know the part that I like in that movie? I like when he gets all the teachers in the gym and tells them to put their hands up. It's called Lean On Me. You know what? He should have won the award for that movie instead of Driving Miss Daisy. All right, we digress.
You said expeditious.
Anyone else? Any other?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was listening to Wayne Chandler yesterday. Speech he gave in Atlanta, and he was talking about we're having a multitude of distractions, and I was thinking about the in his book, The Seven Hermetic Principles. He also talks about vibrations. I mean rhythm. He talks about
rhythm. Yes.
And so.
Rhythm. It says for.
And I thought my question was about the rap music.
Yes.
Did you think it seems like it's deliberate?
Of course.
The chaos is.
You think so?
The
What gave you that idea?
The chaos created among our young people to keep them disenchanted and.
This is what he says about rhythm. The principle of rhythm: everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. I heard Dr. Ivan Van Sertima say this, Damani. He said, our children now, he was speaking in the 80s, so you know it's worse now. Our children don't know the difference between noise and music. True that. How many remember Brother Ajamu from the All African People's Revolutionary Party? He doesn't live here now. He lives in Seattle. But he told this story of when KRS-One had come to African Liberation Day in Oakland. And after he got through talking, they were meeting with some of the members of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. And he said, well, look, I'm about to go to San Francisco to, we're going to go over my latest project. Would you like to come? And so he took some of the people, and Ajamu was one of them. And they went to some tall building in San Francisco where everybody in the room had suits. They were in some boardroom. And they went through each of his songs. Brother, don't let me forget to play that music up, all right? They went through each of his songs, and Ajamu said, this really happened. I saw this. He said, so they listened to the first song, and they stopped. They said, look, this song is not going to make it. It doesn't have enough profanity. Mm-hmm. So they designed this. Nothing happens by accident. Right. So when you see a man whose hair is messed up, and he's saying derogatory things about Mexicans, he's saying derogatory things about Muslims, he's saying derogatory things about all these people. He's even saying I could shoot somebody a mass and there will be people that support me. Right? I just read where he has received $2 billion worth of free. Every time I turn television, he's on. Wow. I used to like MSNBC, but it's become like the Trump station. Wow. So these things. Wow. So this music. Now I saw this video once. It was on VH1, and it was a story. It was a documentary. It was called "Videos That Changed the World," and they were doing one on Fight the Power. Yes. And they showed this thing, Spike directed it. It was in Brooklyn. The community got involved. They had these people that were doing all the Nation of Islam, paramilitary things, and they were singing "Fight the Power." And it was a big hit, and it was lifting the consciousness of the people, and the system, the Matrix. Okay. The Matrix made a correction, right? And they said. We can't let this. We can't let this keep on going. In comes in NWA, and so it went from conscious. Because X-Clan, KRS-One, all of the conscious rappers, they went by the way, and then gangster rap was ushered in. There's a brother you told me about, Sabrina, Leonard Honor. Leonard Honor. Lennon Honor has done like a 3-part thing on NWA.
Critical support.
And what he did was, you asked this question to me. Just ask me a question, I'm ready to elucidate. What he did was he listened to a couple of NWA albums and he counted how many times women were disrespected, how many times black women were disrespected, how many times black men were disrespected, how many times the N-word was used, how many times the B-word was used. And you just think about that. You use that over and over again. Sigmund Freud scientifically proved that you make a decision based upon collective unconscious information. So you just hear this thing over and over again, and you wonder why you have these impulses. Yes, Howard?
Yes, I say about you bringing that up too. He said that's what happened in South Africa. All that conscious music that was playing, that's what's got the revolution going.
Yes.
But also too, I went to Greg, did you come across anything how they talk about the digital CDs now, or if they were started, that they have hidden messages in them?
You know, I haven't, but everybody's familiar with the old Coca-Cola commercial at the end of a movie. You know, and let me just back up. Okay, your subconscious mind receives 200,000 bits of information per second. But your conscious mind filters that. And so you only get like 2,000, I think these numbers are correct, 2,000 bits of information per second. But your subconscious, this is how you make a decision. This is how you think about things. There's a thing that I just found out. It's called sigils. How many have heard of that? Sigils.
I was in service when he talked about it. Come on.
She was, okay. You know, sigils are things that you make. So you might have an affirmation. You write an affirmation, a positive affirmation, and you write, I will be a good singer.
I am a good singer.
I am. Yes, I am a good singer. So you write that down. And then you take all the vowels out. And then you take all of the extra consonants, you know, so like if you have a B and later in the phrase, if it's a B, then you take out the second B, you know, and you take out the duplicate consonants. And then you arrange it in a kind of way that you know, is comfortable with you. And that is supposed to have an effect on your subconscious mind. Some people recommend burning it up afterwards, or or posting it. So I maintain this. Things like this that our ancestor did, these are sigils, because they took out all the vowels. These are sigils, and they put them. So these are things that are working on your subconscious. Yes, Terry.
I was going to add too that when it comes to when we're talking about music, I have noticed, and with rhythm, I don't necessarily like listening to hip hop, and younger people, even if they don't like the message.
What do you mean, younger people? Aren't you one of the younger people?
Where am I at? In this group, I might be along with I'm just saying, in general. Because they're my age, we listen to different things than people like my niece's age or younger. Like they listen to stuff, we're like, oh no, we can't get behind that. Like we're maybe NWA generation, but I don't know what is this trap stuff y'all doing is like that's totally different. But either way, what even those of us who know it's not conscious, we know it's not good for us, the way they trap us into listening to it, and then is that rhythm, that beat. So they kept that part of the music, that beat, that I feel like draws us in and then makes you more susceptible to it. Because I'll be listening to something and at first I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, ooh, wait a minute, what is this? But then for me, I have to consciously make a decision to reject that message. And I think about it, I was like, oh, I'll actually have, my mom can test it. I I actually have a conversation. I start talking about, no, I'm not. No, I didn't do that. Like, it'll be a conversation with me and whoever's singing, like, I'm rejecting that. But a lot of people don't have that, that filter. They don't do that for themselves to try to consciously reject what the subconscious is bringing in, particularly when you have, like I said, that rhythm, that vibration or frequency that makes you more susceptible to whatever that message is. They package it real pretty, you know, particularly for us. Anything with rhythms and a bass beat like that, like a drum beat or whatever, you got us. Like we're there.
You know what? Everything. Think about this. Everything that you see on TV or in the media is designed. Nothing that's an accident. So when you see people interacting, the way that they're interacting, that's designed. Some people got together and they wrote out a story, and then they said, okay, this person is a good director. They can make them act like this way, and this is what we want to show. You know, I was watching. That's pretty good. I was watching. You know, Oprah had this show. It was Cosby. No, actually, I take it back. It was on Unsung. You guys watched Unsung? And they were doing the A Different World. And really, for me, well, I kind of like Blackish now. I didn't like the title, but I like what they put on the shows. And that woman, I can't think of her name, the one that plays the mother-in-law, she is hilarious. So, A Different World, they were talking, and when they put on that show, when they put on the LA riots, that when they did that episode, that's when they were taken off the air. So Rodney King, the verdict of the people that beat up Rodney King, and how people just kind of had a rebellion, not a revolution, but a rebellion. And when they did that show, they were taken off. And so then I saw Blackish, and they did something about around Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Remember that? I mean, just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
they might not be on. Because see, when we were brought here, they took away our drum.
Yes.
And so shows like Arsenio, A Different World, Cosby. I found this. Let me digress on this. I found this thing on Cosby. It's a 3-part thing on YouTube that proves that Cosby didn't do what they're saying that he did, and how we have been manipulated by the media. And he divided it up into thirds. You know what, Angela? I'll find it. Okay. You know, ask me about it. You know, as we break up. But it's like in 3 parts, and it proved that all the women. Okay. Cosby was a womanizer.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the embarrassing part, I'm sure, for him and his wife. You know, but Cosby didn't do what these people said, and all these people that's coming out.
40 years
later. 40 years later. Let me just back up. Rape is not condoned in any way, shape, or form. That should never happen. As a matter of fact, as Africans, we had no word in our language for rape. That's their thing. That's deep right there. But anyway, it's a long thing, and it divides it up into 3 parts. So the reason why I mentioned Cosby is that he's had the most positive things, shows, and he was getting, this is where, Oprah had the cast of A Different World.
Different World, yeah, it was good.
Did you see that? And then at the end, she said, "What are you guys doing?" This before the whole Cosby thing came out. What projects are you working on? And the guy that played Ron, I think his name is Daryl, something, you know, he's married to Tempest Bledsoe. He says, well, me and Mr. Cosby are getting ready to put out some programs, and they're going to be really positive. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but you know, bam.
Yep.
That's when it got okay. Cosby was going to buy, he was trying to buy NBC, and his son got killed.
Right.
Out of very weird, you know, explanation and circumstances, you know. And so he was trying to do it again, and then this thing comes up. But because people do not think, they even test your IQ by multiple choice. He says A will say cat, B will say dog, C will say fish, you know, E will say something, and it says, because they don't want you to think, F will say none of these. So you don't, and so you don't have like a critical analysis. They don't want you to make a critical analysis, because if you did, if you listen to jazz is a very cerebral type of music. You can study, you can do your homework to it. You know, those that are coming up in school, you know, if you're just in the house, I'm sure if you play some jazz, the plants will do better. You know, but they don't want you to listen to that. They want you to listen to, I used to work at a paper recycling place. And, am I done? Is it my time? Okay. I used to work at a paper recycling place. I used to work with a bunch of Samoans. I looked like a skinny one. and they played, they had this really kind of like headbanger music. It was, yes, Howard.
Well, I just want to make a comment. The TV show next Wednesday on the one that you just mentioned there.
Blackish?
No, the other one on Song. They're going to be having a documentary on New York Undercover and why they were taken off, because they wanted to start making that show with too many minorities in there. They wanted to start making it whitish. So they're going to tell why they canceled that.
See, all of these things are designed. You probably have seen that clip of Dave Chappelle. He came back to his dressing room. They wanted him to put on a dress. You know, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And how they tried to argue him down, and he had to be emphatic. And then they changed the script. You know, but and a lot of people do that. A lot of people. I hate to see. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not offending anyone. But I hate to see a men put on a dress. I do. It just does something to me. You know. So. More and more, that's becoming more and more acceptable. And okay, in Africa, a lot of things happen. Okay, I'm not saying that they didn't have gay people in Africa, but it wasn't enshrined as it was in Greek culture. If you read Plato, and he will tell you what his higher form of love is, the highest form of love is, and so this is a European thing that's being put into us through music, through food, through all of the things. If you, I was having a conversation with a sister this morning, and I was trying to tell her not to eat soy, because that involves a feminization. That involves creating more estrogen in your body. Women, you need more testosterone too. You know, because it's a good body regulator for you as well. So, you know, and if young boys, when they're like, you know, from the time that they are being nursed to like about 2, I think after 2, you get as a boy a testosterone surge. But if you have too much estrogen in your body, you know, the formulas, wow, you won't get that estrogen. And that testosterone surge lasts you throughout the rest of your life. So it is sound, it is food. These things, these people want to keep us in a perpetual state of deception, of delusion. And part of it is done through frequency. I thank you very much. Glad to see some friends and some new people that I haven't seen. And for you young people, I hope I didn't bore you that much. Thank you again. As we're going around, you know, You know, as people are eating and stuff, I'm going to put the music on. And there's a thing back there, so I don't want to take up any more time.
You made some points at the end, and you said sound, food, and something else. And I just want to add on to that and say sun and meditation, because we need to use our own powers that we have as far as meditating. We depend on tools, and that's fine. Tools have their purpose, but we can ourselves meditate morning and noon or night and what have you. But the power is within us, because what if those tools aren't around? What if you don't have your tube? So you got to go within. And so if you continue practicing going within, that's where the power is at. So I just want to add on to what you were saying too. And be mindful. So again, thank you so much. I have to have you for part 2, huh? Yeah.
I'll come back.
Okay.
I know where you guys are.
There's some people that came in